Song of the Ocean. Written by Wolf Lord 4. This happened a long time ago. When you live in a sleepy seaside town in a place as gloomy as Scotland, you long to explore beyond the horizon. Here, the only opportunity for that is to become a fisherman. I went out on my first voyage when I was 15. My last was when I was 67. In all of my years of being at sea, I have seen many amazing and odd things, from the aurora borealis in the Arctic to seeing a whale twice the size of a vessel leap from the water. But what I saw on one particular voyage has scarred my mind forever. I was a young man then, probably in 18 or 19 years old. We were fishing in the mid-Atlantic. Our catch decent, the water was smooth, and when we did get rain, it was pleasant. By far the most tranquil voyage I've ever had. That was until I started hearing that godforsaken singing. I first heard it when I went out for a smoke on another tranquil night. I was looking up at the stars and listening to the waves. Then I heard it. It was very faint, but noticeable. It was feminine, but that wasn't possible. There weren't any women on the boat. As soon as it came, it left. I just told myself that I was just imagining it. After all, I had been away from home for a long time, so that's what I chalked it up to. I figured that I was tired, and that it was time for me to go to bed. I tossed my cigarette overboard and went below deck to go to sleep. I left my window open to listen to the waves. As my hammock swung back and forth, I began to drift off. When I was on the verge of falling asleep, I heard that singing again. I was jolted awake. The voice was closer and more beautiful. I had the urge to go up on deck and see who was making that beautiful music. The singing had no words, but just sounds and vocals. I got to the deck and then it stopped. I asked my friend if he heard it, but he said he didn't hear anything. He began to make fun of me, telling me that I was missing the girls at the pub. I tried to convince him further, but he just kept reaffirming that he didn't hear anything. I went to the bow, where another friend of mine who was checking the nets. I asked him if he had heard the singing, and he said he didn't. He was a little more sympathetic. He told me that I must be seasick, and I need to get some rest. I agreed. We had been at sea for 3.5 weeks. I thought I was just tired, but I was still confused. I've been on longer voyages than this one, and nothing like this ever happened to me. I went back to my hammock, and sure enough, I started hearing it again. I thought I should just block it out, but it lulled me to sleep. At first, I welcomed the singing. I enjoyed hearing it when I was by myself, relaxing, or doing a task on my own. I felt like it was just for me. I mean, it was since I was the only one who could hear it. I called the voice my sea angel. I would have never revealed this information to my friends. They would never let me live it down. Eventually, the singing got more frequent, and it began to take a sinister turn. I started sleepwalking on deck, only to wake up hearing the singing, and I'd find myself getting ready to jump off the side. The singing would only stop when someone on the boat was near me. I would hear it every time I would try to sleep, and every time when I was alone. I would cover my ears because on some nights it was so loud, I felt like the voice was right next to me. I screamed into the air for it to stop, or for the source of the singing to leave me alone. My friends began thinking I was becoming ill, confined me to bed, not letting me on the deck. But being left alone was worse. It never stopped, and was a constant presence. After I was confined to bed, that's when the dreams began. It was the same every night. I was just beneath the waves, the moonlight shining through the water. The darkness of the ocean surrounded me, except for the above. The only thing I heard was the same singing. When I would wake up, I would be standing up trying to open my locked door. The night where it all ended was the most horrifying of them all. One night I was sleepwalking again, but this time, one of my friends forgot to lock my door. I managed to make it up on the deck again, and this time, I fell overboard. I was still in a hypnotic state, so I did not panic. I submerged underwater slowly. It was just like my dream. The waves above me crashing, and the moonlight shining through the water. I then saw a very beautiful woman emerge from the darkness in front of me. She was completely naked. Her pale skin seemed to reflect moonlight. She was just floating beneath the waves with me. She stared right into me. Her emerald green eyes seemed to hypnotize me. Her raven hair flowed with the waves. She swam towards me slowly. I began to calm down. I felt safe with her. She gave me a small grin with her ruby red lips. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, her canine teeth elongated into fangs, and her pupils dilated to the point where both of her eyes were completely black. One of her hands grabbed my shirt, and the other gashed me across the chest. I then broke from my hypnotic state as my blood began to permeate the water. I tried to fight back, but she was stronger and much more agile in the water. I then became aware I was running out of air. I swam up to the surface with the woman still clinging onto me. I managed to get a gulp of air before she dragged me under again. She then attempted to bite my face. I shielded her attack with my hand, resulting in her fangs sinking into my flesh. She retracted her bite, and I used the opportunity to wrap my other hand around her neck, and I squeezed as tight as possible. I then used my other hand to assist in strangling her. I seemed to have had the upper hand because her eyes reverted to the original emerald green, and her canine teeth retreated back to normal as she began to suffocate. From what I could see, her face was full of fear, as if this was a situation she never found herself in. She clawed at my arm, ripping into the flesh, and tried to kick me in the stomach. I was so full of adrenaline that the pain didn't bother me. All I did was tighten my grip harder. I then felt a rope around me, and I was pulled out of the water, letting go of the woman. I was then plopped on deck. I don't exactly remember what happened, but from what I'm told, I just gasped for air while bleeding heavily and said some jumble and panicked sentences about a woman, and then passed out. I didn't hear the singing again for the entire voyage, or I tried to forget, but I still bear the scars she gave me all those years ago. It's been many years since then, and I'm older now. People dismiss this story as just another fisherman's tale. Maybe I just imagined the whole thing. Personally, I hope they're right. Every night I take a walk on the shore by myself, and sometimes I can hear her singing softly, far in the distance.